Hello, and welcome to That TA Podcast, a podcast brought to you by the talent acquisition team here at That Game Company, where we take you behind the scenes to highlight the amazing talent here at TGC. You'll be hearing from myself, Luke Davis, and my colleagues in the TA team, Christine Chua and Mark Bradbury, throughout these episodes as we interview staff from various departments and disciplines. We'll be posting new episodes every month to our TGC YouTube channel. With that, let's get to this month's guest. All right, we are here with April Barrett, our live experience manager today for today's episode of That TA Podcast. April, would you want to go ahead and introduce yourself to all of our listeners and maybe tell us about how you ended up at TGC?
Yeah, of course. Hi, everybody. I'm April, better known as Tethys online and Discord and social media. I am the new live experiences manager, and I basically started as just a gamer, just like everybody else. For many years, I was a stay-at-home mom for 12 years. And then when I needed to go back to work when my kids got to high school, I went back into a veterinary hospital and discovered that I didn't want to be bitten by animals. And it started during COVID, and I didn't want to be a frontline worker. That's a scary place to be. So I was at that time asked to be a moderator for the official Facebook group by someone at TGC. And that just kind of jump-started my career into joining the studio. And when the community manager position opened up, I applied for it, and luck would have it, there I go. So, but yeah, I started as a gamer though. I played Sky.
I love it. Obviously I work on the internship early career side of things and how for a while, but I think one of the things I love most about that is just the idea of doing the things that you love doing, and then that kind of ending up with offer. It's like one of the things I tell students, if you're looking to do this, you don't have to have the job necessarily to get experience. There's a whole bunch of different ways you can get experiences. So I love that story. That's awesome. As
Absolutely
cute as the doggos and kittens were, it sounds like a much better fit now.
Yes, very much so. I mean, I love the animals and I loved the work. I just just discovered I don't like my own blood coming out of my body, so yeah. I'm good.
Yeah, can't blame you. I'd be curious. Was it one of those things with community management? Most of the community managers I know, in fact, I'm trying to think of one that breaks this stereotype, but most of them I know did not think they'd end up in community management. I think for a lot of them it was a passion or something they really loved the thing about the community. They were really passionate about the game. They were really passionate about this group. And then kind of ended up in community management. Was ending up in community management kind of a swerve for you, or did you see ways in the past that kind of prepared you for being in that space?
I definitely feel like community management really is on par with customer service. So, any customer service position that you have as a career or as a job, it's very, very similar in the sense for community management. I mean, I didn't even know community management was a position. I honestly just thought that all those moderators and stuff, I didn't know what it was. I just was like, oh, they're there, they're in charge. Great. But I was a secretary, I was an executive assistant, I was commercial, I was retail, call centers, all of that played a part in my skill set to be able to be a community manager, because, you do need to be able to, enforce the rules of your spaces, and you need to be able to say no when you need to. So, it's a fantastic and rewarding job because the players are the heart. And being able to talk with them directly is the most amazing thing. So, customer service, I think, is probably the skill set somebody would need to have some strength in.
100%. My first job out of college was call center work. I think you learn way more about learning to deal with humans in call center work or retail or, food service, anything like that. I think gives you a better sense of people skills than perhaps other roles. So that's awesome to hear.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's great. I'd love to transition to the newer role that you have as far as the live experience side. Can you tell us what does that look like? Live experience manager, what does that look like in your day-to-day?
In my day-to-day, I'm doing a lot of planning. So the live experience job, it was something that is new to our studio. It's basically someone who is focused on primarily planning and executing stuff that happens that the players will directly be involved with, the traveling spirits, when we have those radiance events, when you can collect more of the colored dye light, that kind of stuff. It's planning that direct connection with that player and their experience in the game. One of the big things that we're trying to propone is to push forward is having those live experiences with us as people in the game as well. So we're doing a lot of player interviews. We've got some other plans in the works. I can't go into too much detail on, but there is definitely the idea that we as the studio members are going to come out and play with the players, and they can all see us and they can all enjoy that time with us together. So that is my main focus, is that in-game player engagement.
One of the things that I think is an interesting space in this live service and MMO, game that I think is so rewarding is that kind of real-time feedback designers can get from players. The things that you're talking about, where it's like the events and traveling spirits and things that are going live. Have you found it to be interesting to design in a space where you can ship a season and see right then how it landed, get feedback, and then as you're looking at the next season, kind of take that and iterate on it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Like with the one thing I try to make sure that I do, especially with the live experiences, is I'm in the Discord or I'm in our social spaces as often as I can be, so I can see those comments as they're happening. If I'm in the middle of an interview, I've got my Discord open so that I can see what they're saying. Because there's a level of interaction in the game, but there's also that social aspect that you can get that real time, instantaneous feedback and reaction from the player. And it's actually helped me a lot because I feel like it engages me more, and it helps me better engage with them because I can be on topic with them. So it's absolutely a thrill.
I love that. And I think we're seeing a lot of spaces now. And when thinking about media and even how media is received, that a player base is often very invested. I'm thinking through the patch notes. I'm thinking through the This Month in Sky updates. A player base now when playing a game potentially has like so many options of wikis and information and news articles and things, that videos at their disposal, that I think it's a cool way to like almost like co-design in some senses that I think through that.
Absolutely. Yeah, the being able to cross collaborate with a lot of different departments. Like, it's not just me and live experiences, not just community. It's designers and me and community, and all of us together are like, what can we do to make that live experience happen easier, or be more engaging, as well as then, bring in the community side saying, hey, what have they expressed? What is the player expressing to you that is the most interesting? What did they feel like from this experience that we gave them? What was their likes? What was their dislikes? How could we improve one or the other? So yeah, it's a 100% a collaboration. So it's actually really it's fun to see, because when you're in just a single department that has a really strict focus, being able to shift that, it's a lot of fun.
That's one of the things I've heard a lot from our other guests, is the size of TGC being where we are, where we have obviously a lot of different things that we're working on, but where we're not that big, where you kind of lose that ability to have those like cross-discipline collaborations, or you're working on maybe wearing a couple different hats. I think I've said that every episode so far. I'm gonna have to come up with a new phrase, but I'd love to kind of hear, especially as someone who's seen the community side and is on the design side as well, what has been some advice you'd have for maybe people that are working in either one of those spaces on how to think about each other space? Like for community managers, thinking more about design; for designers, thinking more about the community. Any advice in kind of thinking about for people that are maybe starting off in one of those disciplines, how to maybe think about broadening that and working in collaboration?
That's a very good question. It's something I'm still actually working on learning myself. Community is very reactionary focused, like we are very, the stuff that's happening in the game and the stuff that everything that the players are experiencing, the community is focusing on that. Like, so they're not necessarily getting the chance to preemptively say, oh, this is going to be what it is, or help design how that's going to be, like a season or an event or something like that. There are exceptions to that. One of them being our Sky Creator Awards is very heavily driven by our community team, but there is this essence and feeling of, one, like the community team is very reactionary, Whereas the design team is very pre-planning. You ask a lot more questions. You have to decide how things are going to play out before, like way in advance, so that when contingencies happen, you have that time to find a solution. So it's definitely a transition for me. Coming from the community is very reactionary to that pre-planning, and I'm still learning the questions to ask, and where to start putting my foot in and say, hey, I'd like to know this. So I would say for people who want to, or just starting out, I would just say ask any questions you possibly can to everybody, and don't be afraid to ask those questions in whatever conversations you can get in on, because that's the most important thing is that knowledge, that pre-planning for design, and then knowing how to react for the community. So it's definitely, yeah, just ask as many questions as you can.
Great advice. Great life advice, just in general. Asking questions.
Yes,
Love that.
I agree.
As far as I'd love to go back to thinking more about your experience with being a community moderator and starting on the community side, pre TGC job. What did that experience kind of look like? How was there anything that surprised you coming from like, hey, I'm already helping out with the moderation in the groups here, doing that for the job offer? What did that kind of journey look like, and were there any surprises along the way?
Let me see. I remember I was I was just a player, and I was in like 6 or 7 Facebook groups, and I would just talk in all of them. And I would just share my screenshots, and I would share my stories, and all that kind of stuff. And I'd fly with friends, and I would just, go do candle runs and all that kind of stuff. And then I started getting asked to moderate some of the fan run groups. So I was like, oh, hey, that's great. That's a really fantastic thing. So then like, there's that structure of, having to 100% know the rules in and out, and start holding everybody else accountable to that. And then through all that process, getting asked to moderate for GDC, I don't think there was any surprises. I think if anything, it really narrowed down for me what I would want to do in a community. If I ever was in charge of a community, I really like it. It helped me, because there's a difference between a fan run group and like an official space, right? So the difference between those two, there was a transition of trying to be like, oh, okay, well, I have to think more officially versus just, oh, well, we can do whatever we want. And real having that pressure, or that in your mindset that, what you're acting in a capacity for an official company. It comes with responsibility, and you have to take that into account if that's something that you really want to do. So I think probably that would be the biggest transition, or the biggest change that I had for the moderation side of things.
Yep, and I think for community and moderation, and anyone that has the more external facing, I always think that the as a Spider-Man fan, like with great power, great responsibility, is very true. And I think it's sometimes hard as a fan to see. You don't get to see behind the scenes, and so there could be considerations, right, or could be things going on behind the scenes that we're working on that aren't visible. And I think that like having that as a the consideration on the other side totally makes sense as a bit of a transition there, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and the moderators, they do get more information than just the general player. They get signed under NDA, so they get some pre-highlights of stuff, so they can plan how to address anything that might be coming up, or like how to word things, or so that comes into play. And yes, it is. It's like, okay, how, there is that level of, I just can't, I'm not better than, but I just know more, and trying to keep that in a positive light. It can be difficult for many people.
I love what you said about finding those spaces that were just a natural expression of you being the gamer and loving the game. Especially on the student side, one of the things I'm seeing more and more for students finding success in the gaming industry is finding those groups, those small groups. In this digital age we have now, it's a lot easier to find people that like the same thing than you online, right? Like, it's not this like, oh, gaming is a niche hobby. Now it's, okay, what types of games? Are you into cozy games? Are you into MMOs? Are you into single player narrative games that are all post-apocalyptic? Or do you only exclusively play books about bookstores? Like, there's so many options now, but you can find a community for that, which I think is really cool. what are your thoughts on kind of that expression of individuality that comes from those types of games that you can find nowadays, those types of spaces? Obviously, Sky is the game it is because of our players in the community that we've been. So kind of what are your thoughts? How has Sky been able to succeed in those areas of being that place for so many players?
I honestly think it really comes down to our players and the fact that we are very active in our moderation. Um, I've been part of many groups where it's you come in, you can sit there and you can talk about things and you can do stuff, and it can kind of blow up. It can derail off topic. It can go off into different spaces, all that kind of stuff, and you end up with just a jumble. It's just a hodgepodge of topics and conversation. I think one thing that made our community so successful is the fact that we had a very set of rules. Like this is our community Sky space, and this is what we want to see in our chat. And the majority of the players that join these groups, they're just like, yeah, that's what I want. That's what I'm looking for. I want to talk about Sky. I want to talk about my experiences in Sky. I want to give them feedback. I want to talk about these bugs. I want to address these issues, or I want to, I want to find people like-minded like myself. And so we've been able to create and sustain an environment in our moderated social spaces that keeps to that topic, that keeps to those people. Those people, they find that home space there because it is, they know they can trust that it's going to stay that way.
I love that. I think again, as someone who's also moderation for a couple different communities, it's one of those things where, again, when you think about maybe getting that job in the gaming industry, the programmers, the artists, I think are some of the most visible and largest in terms of like size. But that importance of running those spaces, I think, is something that until you've done it and until you've been on that side of moderating community and all the decisions that come down and trickle down and have impacts that maybe you didn't foresee, I think is a very interesting thing, especially for students that might be involved in anything related to community management and starting that kind of from scratch. I think is a great experience.
Absolutely.
Do you have for anyone looking to kind of be, hey, like I like a lot of these things. I obviously am a fan of gaming and maybe specific games, but specifically wants to work in community management or working in more of these like live experiences. Any advice or anything from your background that's helped you in the role that you're at today?
You have to go, if you want it, you have to go for it. If you want it, you have to go for it. If when I started playing Sky, this is actually really funny. When I started playing Sky, I can remember it was late at night, and I went through Dawn, and then as soon as you go through the temple, and there's the title screen, and I was like blown away. I was like, oh my god, this game is so amazing. And so I'm getting through, and I'm playing it, and I was just like, you know what? By the end of my first night playing, I think I got through like Valley, and I had just started going into Golden Wasteland, and then I heard the krill roar, and I was like, nope, I'm done. I'm done for today. I can't do anymore. And I can just remember though, like I turned it off. I'm like, you know what? I need to work there. I need to do something with this game. I need to. This is where I want to be. I want to be part of this. And then I went online and I started finding groups, and I started joining the groups and all that kind of stuff. And made myself a figurehead in a sense, or a person of interest. Because imagine it, like there's no world where the people that you are interacting with are not possibly potentially someone from TGC, or someone from whatever job that you want, or someone from whatever game company, so there's the realm of possibility that you can make yourself known somehow. And so I think if you want it, you just have to go for it. You have to make it happen.
I love that. I love that so much. I also love that you stopped at the krill portion, because you're like, let's not get into the scary part yet. The time where Sky becomes a much different game.
Yes.
That's awesome. That's awesome. As far as just kind of part of the goal of this podcast is really just highlighting, hey, what does it look like to work at TGC? What is the average TGC? I don't know. Do we have a TGC name for our employees, like TGCers?
No, I don't think we do. That
Okay,
that
we'll have to think
that
about this for future podcasts. What we call
yeah, I think
ourselves.
we need a name. We need a
Yeah,
name.
we'll play around with that. We'll see. But in thinking about like what's the experience of the day to day is like, is there something recently that you learned or a project that you completed or something that you did that you were proud of or you thought was cool?
Mm,
I think that experience of always learning and doing new things hits my ADD very specifically, which is why I love,
mhm.
talking to people and finding out new things. But anything like that recently in your role that maybe surprised you, that you learned or completed that you're proud of?
I would say it's kind of a twofold situation. Being that I'm relatively new to my current position, prior to this, I was in our live ops team, and being able to uh, experience a live operations mindset was eye opening. It was absolutely a fantastic position. I really, really enjoyed the work. And that was just being on top of every single day that happened in Sky. What was going on with the players? What was going on with the back end? What was going on with our designers team, our design teams for XYZ event and season? Um, that was it, it tickled my brain. I love information. I absolutely love information. So, and I'm nosy and I have to know everything. So being part of live ops was fantastic because I had to know everything. I had to be on the pulse of what was going on. And then when I transitioned into live experiences, I would say I'm learning something new. It feels like every other week or so because like I'm doing the player interviews now two times a week. I'm talking to players every week and for an hour, and we just sit there and we talk about stuff that their Sky experiences or stuff that they're just interested in. Like I remember me and Tio, we sat in here in an interview and we talked to somebody about their favorite anime for 6 minutes. It was fantastic. But I think just getting to I'm getting to be able to learn things about Sky still, and I continue to learn things about Sky because now I'm doing other things like the player interviews, like the traveling spirits, like the radiance events and the farm and the group returns, the spirit group returns. Um, yeah, so I'm constantly learning new things, and that just tickles my brain. I need to know everything.
I love it. I love that so much. I think they, certain friends of mine I've talked about before, but it's like your job, you're doing the same thing for forever. You're the one thing in your job, and I'm like, I think I would go a little stir crazy. So also love
Mhm.
learning new things.
Yeah.
One segment of the podcast that we're excited to do is every podcast so far we've gone through a different core value. We're going to get to the point where we're going to have to rotate back and then see other people's perspectives. But I was very excited for you in this one because I think this one already sums up a lot of the things you've been talking about. But one of our core values at TGC here is players are our house guests and treating players
Mhm.
as our house guests. So how
Mhm.
have you seen that particular value play out in your experience so far in any of the roles that you've had?
I think for community that speaks for itself. I mean, the players are my drive. They are your driving force in the community team. You're talking to them. You're getting information from them. Like you're their voice in the company, basically. You're sharing their feedback and their thoughts and their feelings. You are sharing their ideas if they want to make a suggestion or if they really want to see something. So you are definitely in a community team. You're definitely the player's voice. Um, as a live experience, it's the same in the sense that I'm their voice, but it's also that um, we, in live experience, now that we're kind of more a personhood, so to speak, in game. Um, they're my guests. My job is to highlight them. It's not about me anymore. It's not about my character of Sky. It's in Sky. It's who are you as a player? What do you want to share with us? So my focus is 100% on telling that player story. So they are definitely my house guests. I am asking them. I'm giving them water and food. And what would you like? Here's the primo spot on the couch. You share your stories and tell us your things because that's what we want to know. You're the highlight.
I could not think of a person to better exemplify that value than yourself and the team
Well,
as
thank
well.
you
So
very
that's
much.
awesome. That's awesome. And peeling back the curtain a little bit more on life at TGC, has there been a singular experience that you've had here, maybe more with your team or coworkers? We've obviously talked a lot about the player experience, But how there's been an experience at TGC, an on-site, a gathering, a meeting, a fun hangout after work, anything like that. Obviously, we're remote, so things have looked a little different post-COVID. But any experience so far that you'd pull out as a highlight or something that has kept you here at TGC, and as kind of continued to be surprised for you on that side of things.
I would definitely say the people at TGC are some of the most wonderful people I've ever met. Um, they embody uh, a sky, I would think. They're dedicated to making this primo game. They're dedicated to making an experience players will enjoy and want to come back to. Um, they genuinely care about wanting Sky to be the best it could be. Um, and then just for like a personal thing, I would say Skyfest was fantastic. Skyfest in Japan was absolutely aces. I really enjoyed being able to walk through the village and have it realized in that sense physically. And this is my first foray into a gaming company, and I'm blown away by it. I think the whole experience, the people, the things that we've been able to do physically as well as in game are just they're inspiring. Everything is absolutely inspiring for me.
I think you're not the first person I've talked to that's talked about that feeling you get from seeing things in the game be real, and like whether it's
Hmm.
some of the decorations, it's cosplay. For me, I think that's a big one, is seeing
Hmm.
cosplay from the game and in real life. I mean, like someone else took the time to make this super awesome cosplay of something that's in the game. What an honor! Like what a cool thing just for that.
Right?
Like
Right?
that's mind
Yes,
blowing.
I know. I want to make my own cosplay too. I started to, but then I realized that my sewing machine is not up to the job. So
Nice. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That's awesome. Would love to see. Yeah, we need to. I was gonna. My next question is actually gonna be about favorite Slack channels, but that's making me think. I don't know if we need to add a Slack cosplay channel, and maybe that can be
right?
our group. Challenge for the employees is to match how awesome some of the fan cosplays are.
Right? Yes, absolutely. No, I honestly I've had this plan to make a cape with lights inside and everything, so the stars would all light up and all that. I just don't have one. I don't really necessarily have the skill set to do it, and two, my sewing machine has decided not to work with me.
Well, it'll be the teaser for the future projects that will emerge instead.
Right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
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 And thinking about one of the goals for the podcast is showing a little bit again behind the scenes of life at TGC for people that are curious about it. Do you have any advice for people applying to roles at TGC in terms of things that you've seen here with your current coworkers, either traits, drives, particular things that you've seen that work well for current people at TGC that anyone applying should know about, like traits that predict
Mm,
success, things that typically do well here at once you're here at TGC.
okay. I would definitely say being self-driven. Because we are a remote-based company, having that self-discipline and that drive to um, complete tasks, meet your deadlines, is crucial and it's important. Um, a willingness to help and be involved. Uh, the need to, well, not the need, but the understanding that curiosity is probably one of your best assets, because you need to know what you don't know. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
I love that. Curiosity. I love that. That's a great answer. Especially, I think it's easy because there's that space of, it sounds, I don't want to say it sounds cheesy, but it does almost sound a little cheesy, of wonder and connection. And I think when I talk to, Sky Kids and players, like that's one of the core themes that comes up, is that like just that sense of wonder. And I think a lot of that comes from curiosity. So I love
Mhm.
that especially. As we kind of move towards wrapping up our time here, I love asking this question. It's something that's was asked to me a while ago, and it's kind of changed how I thought about some of these things. I'd love to know, instead of, we've talked about how you arrived at TGC, but I'd love to know why have you stayed at TGC? What's been the thing that's kept you around so far?
I would definitely say it's the work and the work with the players. Um, I have felt incredibly fulfilled by the engagement with the players, the chance to help some realization from player perspective become a part of Sky. The chance to expand my own job and understanding and experiences within the company in realms I never probably would have thought of before. Yeah, I would say it's mainly the players and the chance to grow as a person myself.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'd love to hear that. For a very different swerve into our last question, we've asked everybody here about their hobby highlights. At TGC, we have a smattering of unique and awesome hobbies that I think just showcase how, creative and unique our staff here. So I'd love to know, do you have a particular hobby? We already talked about cosplay and maybe getting that worked on, but any particular hobbies or highlights you do outside of work?
I love to do arts and crafts. I actually used to run a April's Crafting Corner for TGC and Sky. We have a couple videos on our YouTube channel. I made the turtle from Sanctuary as a shoulder friend. And I made krill out of wireframing and what are those fuzzy sticks? Chenille rods, like the art and craft chenille rods. I made some krill for that. So I have some videos up on our YouTube about how to make those. But I love arts and crafts. I do a lot of like the 3D wood puzzles. So I have a lot, like my shelves are covered in all my arts and crafts above my desk. So that is my
amazing.
hobby.
As someone who also has a ever expanding craft closet full of all of those materials, that is awesome. That is awesome.
Yes.
Well, April, I think that's all we have time for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Any last words of encouragement for anybody listening? Anything to close us out?
Just manifest what you want. Don't be afraid to ask questions. And if you want it, you just got to go for it. It's not out the realm of possibility that you might just get it. All they can do is tell you no.
We'll see if there's a future April's Crafting Corner for Skycapes, is what maybe the future tease will end with here.
We'll see.
All right. Thanks, April. Thanks for joining us today on today's episode of That TA Podcast. You can follow That Game Company on LinkedIn and Instagram to keep up to date on company news and future podcast episodes. As a reminder, all of our open roles will be posted at thatgamecompany.com/careers. Keep your light shining bright, and we'll see you next time.